We're going to take a moment to look at how we might be able to effectively search and do effective word studies with Logos. Logos will do a lot of stuff. I'm going to start out just showing you some of the most basic stuff that you can do. Hint at a few other things. I am by no means, as I've said, a Logos expert. This is just the approach I would take if I wanted to explore an idea, a concept, a word or phrase that I found interesting, or perhaps had assigned to me in my class that I needed to write a paper on. And so for an example, I wanted to use Genesis 25, and specifically the phrase here that in verse 22, as Isaac's wife, yes, Rebecca was pregnant with twins, of course, Jacob and Esau. They were struggling in the womb within her, and she went to inquire of the Lord. On the surface, a very logical, just straightforward phrase, but there's actually a lot embedded in this. And so what does it mean to go to inquire of the Lord? Well, I'm not going to take you all the way there and give you all the interpretation of it, but if I mouse over, Logos lets me know that that is darash. It's a verb, cal, infinitive construct. We've learned those things. She went to inquire. So it matches up with our grammar here. Let's just take a look at the Hebrew and see if we can find that word. We've got it here, darash, with the lamed appended to it, so it is to inquire or to seek. Now if we right click on that, we've got the option of looking up either the preposition or the verb. We're going to leave the verb highlighted because that's what we're most interested in. And we're going to look at, we'll see what BDB says. And so we can see that it's, we may have translated it, she went to resort to, she went to seek the Lord. We can see to frequent the Lord. There's this seek, consult, or inquire of. So that's a common phrase, to consult of God, Elohim. 25, 22, that's our example right there. Exodus 18, Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people have come to me to inquire of God. So we can already see this is a regular phrase. Come, let us go to the seer to inquire of God. 1 Samuel. So let's think about this word, and we want to get more into what does it mean to inquire of someone, specifically God. Let's see what we can find here. Well, the first thing we need to do is figure out where else it might be used in the text. We've got several ways of doing this. One is just to begin tabulating from whether it be BDB, whether we looked it up in the dictionary of Hebrew. We can see a couple more examples of it here. If we look it up in the Concise Hebrew and Aramaic Lexicon, which everybody may not have, we can get even more information. See, yeah, Jeremiah, Ezra, different places that we could find it. I don't have an exact number, though. It would be interesting to see how often this word actually appears in the Hebrew text. So let's see what we can find here. So we can search morphologically. We can search this resource. We can search very precisely darash, the verb cal. I'm going to guess what all that is. Let's try this one. All right, that's not bad. We can start seeing this used in a couple different places in Genesis 9. There's our passage, Genesis 25, Genesis 42, so on and so forth. All right, we've got a number of uses. We could dig deep with this one. Kind of scrolling through here, 154 results. 154 times. Just so you know, that's a nice broad range. I don't think that it's inconceivable that you could look at all 142 verses and come up with a very robust, very full picture of what this word means. We're going to divide stuff up into epoch. Ezra and Chronicles, may have a certain idea of Darash, whereas the prophets may have something completely different, whereas the Psalms may have something else as well. You'll notice this concordance here gives us a lot of different, a lot of information. Context matters. We can probably drop some of these things out, though. I'm not terribly concerned with that. Let's take genre off. Let's take off the hexatuple sources, because that may not be even helpful for you. You can scroll because we search for verb. They're all verbs. So I'd feel pretty confident that we've got all 154 examples of this verb. Well, let's say that's one of the easiest ways to do it right from the text. You're in context, you're looking for a specific word, and you can come up with a list to start digging through. There could be other ways to do it. Let's say, well, I want to know what the word inquire means. See what kind of words are translated as inquire. Just search for inquire. You use this right here, the inline search magnifying glass. If we're over here, we're going to search in English. And there's a number of, it's going to come up with a list for us. Some of them, however, Genesis 43 wasn't on our list. And if we mouse over the English text, we see actually pop up down at the bottom. That's sha'al. That's actually the verb that can be translated to ask. So there is a nuance here between darash and sha'al, and we'd want to kind of differentiate those, see why an author may pick one over the other. So that's one possibility among many. They've also got, under guides, a Bible word study. And if I punched inquire in there, let's see what we've got. So this is straight from Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. Here's the words that are translated as inquire. Darash makes up the lion's share of that, maybe 60%. We've also got sha'al, to ask, interrogate, consult, maybe another 25% there. And occasionally, bakash, bakar, or ba'ah. So that is interesting. These minor things we're not going to go into. Those are more incidental, but you can kind of see already that if I really wanted to kind of compare and contrast here, I could do darash and sha'al and see how they're used. Greek words, if you wanted to connect to a New Testament context or dig into the Septuagint, and phrases to inquire of the Lord, that we've actually got topic guides. I haven't delved too deeply into those, but hey, click and see what happens. A lot of stuff here. Related verses. Who knows what I've even got here. And of course, new stuff I could buy in case I wanted to know even more about these words. We'll close that. So, I mean, whether you're searching for that or whether you're searching about Zadok, the high priest, maybe if we're not searching a verb, but we want to know a concept like, or the Nephilim or something like that, we'd probably get more information down here. Or if we had different modules, I don't know. So, going back to where we are in here, that's a easy way to get a quick list of the just kind of compile an idea about the scope of a verb, where I may want to look for it. If I wanted to say, you know what, and as I've actually done up here, that English text I've only searched for in the law, Genesis to Deuteronomy, Torah, or Pentateuch. We could search in just the histories, throw Maccabees in there. Just the Nevi'im, or the prophets. That includes former and latter prophets. So Joshua, Judges, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, included in the Nevi'im in the Hebrew Bible. Of course, we've got our English divisions, former prophets, latter prophets, poetic books, poetic writings, different classifications. Or we could just search the whole Bible. Great. Now let's say that you don't have a specific verse you're looking at and you want to find something out. Well, you know what? We can actually pull open a Hebrew language search as well, and you've got a couple ways of doing that. One thing you can do here is, if you've got an alternate keyboard, you can start punching in the actual Hebrew characters, and alright, it pre-fills some stuff here for you, and I can seek this word right here, and I've got something that somewhat matches up with what I've got on the English side. But as we can tell, Genesis 42, this is something you have to think about. In the Hebrew, this word does appear, but doesn't appear in the NRSV, at least. So something to think about there, whether or not you're really getting all the Hebrew words if you're only searching in English. So there's advantages and disadvantages to doing both. If you don't have the ability to type in Hebrew, if you haven't set that up, or if you're just like, I'm not going to mess with that, that's too complicated, there's another option you can do in the Hebrew text that Logos allows you to do. If you type H: in a search bar, what you actually type after that, it's going to start thinking and pre-filling some Hebrew options for you. Likewise, if you're doing New Testament stuff, G: would give you the Greek. And so that's the same thing we can do right there. And let's say I don't want to look at Darash, I want to look at Durak. Okay, great. All sorts of stuff you can do there. Let's go to our good friend Ganab, stole. We can search that, and there we go. Alright, so hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that helps you progress with your current assignment. Not too complicated. Try a few things out. And remember, I'm not the Logos expert, but I bet there's someone on the internet who is. Practice your Google skills along with your exegetical skills and see what pops out.